nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining me in the Wilde space.
Thank you for having me.
Everybody, this is Lorraine Pascal. I'm sure you'll recognize her. She's a chef, an author, a speaker, and now an advocate for mental health. And she's brought her dog with her today. Well, she's got her dog with her in the background. Perfect. I kept mine out because they'd be all over the place. But
he'll be barking to come in. So
there you go.
Yeah, he's gone back to his bed now.
But Lorraine, yeah, really lovely to have you on board. You know, you and I could speak for hours about food because that's how we both started out in life. But you've taken another route of interest, which is mental well-being, mental health. So, you know, I need to ask, what was the transitional point? What was the pivotal moment to make you want to change direction on a more kind of, you know, overt level?
It's always been something, as you say, on an overt level, because it's something that I've been very passionate about for a long time. You know, I've had quite a difficult childhood, and due to that, I've had a lot of different types of therapy, and I used to be so anxious all the time. I had complex post-traumatic stress disorder, all these different things from being fostered, adopted, growing up in care. And so I know what it feels like to suffer, to feel not good enough, to feel down, to feel anxious, to feel like you don't belong, all of these things. And I just kind of felt I'm in such a better place now, thanks to so many people around me and a lot of the work that I've done, that I really want to give back. I want to like make it normalize these feelings, because when you're in the public eye, everyone thinks everything's fine and you're fine and everything's great. And I just want to say, look, I've suffered from anxiety too. It's normal. I want to help. I'm currently studying a master's degree in psychology, and I'll be doing a doctorate next year.
So, wow, that is hardcore. I know, because I've got two daughters who've both studied psychology, and I know how hard that is. Salute. I salute you.
So it's just something that I love. I love helping people. I love giving back. And I kind of reached a bit of a crossroads with my cooking. In America, I'm doing all the shows. I do loads of judging on shows. And I do love that still. But I felt like I'm always evolving, like I did the modeling and then into the cooking. And I think it's, as I evolved as a person, sort of what I want to do seems to have evolved as well.
But these are all just such natural evolutions of yourself, of your person, of you finding out about yourself, you know, from obviously it's discovery all of the time. And, you know, clearly you had an unusual upbringing. It wasn't, you know, a normal, ordinary childhood at all. But I think one of the things that makes you who you are is to really feel stuff and see it and witness extraordinary behaviors, emotions, and whether there's a support mechanism there or not, you have to carve your own way through. And I think it's by having those people around you, and you clearly have had angels around you to help, you know, maybe guide you, but the fact that you must have had the open-heartedness to be able to have the confidence to say, yes, I'll try that, I'll go there, we'll give it a go. And I think that's a wonderful lesson I think we can teach a lot of people, is that, you know, sort of feel the fear and do it anyway. So, you know, even though you might not have any confidence, you suffered from anxiety, as you say, it is normal. And I'm trying to tell my children who, you know, are all suffering from anxiety. I didn't know how much or how little until lockdown. But it is, and I was talking to Bryony Gordon about this, if you have, you know, a beating heart, blood coursing through your veins, that it means you're alive to feeling. Whether you like the feelings or not, it's just that we're all being overwhelmed by them at the minute, and it's just normalizing them, as you say. But on that, I mean, I was going to ask, but you've answered my question for me about, you know, taking responsibility to really understand it from you know, research and understanding it so that you can help others. So that is a very time-consuming thing to actually be studying psychology at that level. how are you possibly going to find the time to study that and keep on working in the States and everything, and having children? How are you going to manage all of that?
Well, my daughter's 23, so that's easy. she's living in LA, and so that it's just a bit easy when they're older. We speak every day. She's doing great. As far as the shows as well, I'm supposed to be there now, judging a cooking competition in LA. They just started filming. They're still filming today, but obviously I can't get there. So in a funny way for me, it's actually been, even though the circumstances are terrible with this lockdown, it's been good for me because I've had so many essays to do. I had time to do it, even though it was difficult to get motivated to do it. But I've had like 6 essays to do in the 3 months over lockdown. So it was quite good. I just got my results actually yesterday, and I've passed all the 4 modules so far. So that's
well done. Congratulations, A star. I mean, that is really cool. You should be feeling really pleased with yourself, but not in a kind of, yes, pat yourself on the back, because I know how dedicated that course is, and how detailed it is. So that is a big up to you. But just from a lockdown perspective, obviously everyone's talking about it being unprecedented times. It is an unprecedented moment in our history. There have been other unprecedented moments in humanity that have put us all back in our place. And I just wondered how you felt about it on a general level, not on necessarily a personal level, but in the context of the human race and how we behave with our neighbours and our communities. Do you feel that this pandemic put everybody back in its place? Because that's what I feel it has done. It's kind of, we've all been slam dunked back onto the beach, and we're all sort of like a little sort of turtle lying on our back going, whoa, what has just happened? Something as dramatic as this, I think, is so important. Now, obviously, people are struggling and they're desperately lost and bereft and bereaved. But how do you feel as far as people seeing this as an opportunity to be a more resolute, kind human being with perspective? Do you think that is going to be something that will happen?
Yeah, I think it was a great kind of, in that obviously the negatives are awful, but it was a reset for everyone, and it was a great leveler as well, because there was nothing for our young ones to look, they see she's doing that on Instagram and she's doing that on Instagram. It was a real leveler to sort of come back to ourselves, to see what's important, to be with ourselves more, which is uncomfortable in a lot of ways for some people. So I do think it's made a lot of people think, but then a lot of people struggled as well, having all that time to think. But I do think good things will come out of this. I do think there's a lot more community, certainly around where I live. There's a lot more community, there's a lot more compassion, there's a lot more understanding. And I think will be a lot more appreciation as well for once we finally get out there properly. Like going to the restaurant I went to the other night, I was like, oh my goodness, look, I don't have to wash up, I don't have to cook, I don't have to, you know what I mean? So it's definitely new levels of appreciation. I guess the trick is kind of holding on to those feelings and thoughts, because sometimes we can just get back in the flow of things and off we go. But it's like the British Vogue, for instance. I love what they've been doing with the covers. It's just kind of, especially for the young, because sometimes, and myself, you can get caught up in all the fashion and all the celebrityness, and it can make people feel less than, and this, that, and the other. So I really like the fact that the cover of Vogue this month is just scenery, beautiful people, and then last month it was all the key workers. So it's just kind of showing us what's really important.
As you say, I mean, just, even something that is so forward thinking and fashion forward, like Vogue, to be able to take that opportunity to just, you know, as you say, go back to a level which is about respecting and appreciating and adoring our natural world and celebrating people who make a difference and who go the extra mile. And I just think it is that, and if they can express themselves that way in a very physical way, then I think it is it makes me very proud. And I'm glad you brought that up as an example, because I know that that I think it takes a lot of, you know, business opportunities and a lot of brands to take stock and actually, you know, genuinely, for business owners particularly, to see this as an opportunity, not just to exploit people's vulnerability, obviously, or fear, but to positively exploit this leveling period where you can appreciate. And I think it's just, you know, from the simple things like, you know, as you say, going out to a restaurant, and you'd forgotten how sweet that felt not to have to cook, or, you know, yeah, of course. And we really, really hope that that is long staying, that won't just quickly dissipate and we'll all get back into the same old groove that we were in before, which was just, as you say, quite fake, and it was quite, you know, it was very intense. And I think especially a mother of daughters worries me very much about the pressure of how you look. And this kind of whole fake philosophy thing, which I you know, worry about enormously. But I think it's just, and I'm glad to hear you say that you feel that, you know, on lots of different levels, people are coming back to what matters the most. But tell me, one of the things I have, and I'm curious, and you might be able to help me answer this, one of the things I've noticed is honesty coming from people who normally are, they're so caught up on proving themselves and putting themselves up on this sort of virtual pedestal of I am strong, I am fine, I'm okay, I do not have mental health, I'm a survivor, and they haven't shown ever their vulnerability. And I have seen some of the strongest people I have known, who I've never seen cry, I've never seen as even remotely being vulnerable, breaking down and being vulnerable for the first time. And it's been revelatory for them, because for once they feel that it's okay to feel fear. And I think such strength and beauty has come from that. And one of the things that came through from some of these, you know, me understanding this from some people, I'm just, because I'm an emotional wreck, I cry, I wear my heart on my sleeve, I literally am, as my children will testify. I you know, what you see is what you get with me, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly. And but when I see, you know, these strong people sort of falling apart and saying, you know, how they feel fear and all this stuff, I'm just so proud of them, because I just think, yes, and it's okay, and we all feel this, by the way, you are not on your own. But you talk a lot about boundaries and about not being people pleasers, and I think one of the things that I think certainly I'm guilty of is not knowing how to create boundaries. I'm just like a sort of a overzealous puppy, and I do want to please everybody, and it is a little bit of wanting to sort of get that recognition and feeling valued for whatever, you know, reason I have. But do you feel that that's something that's become more prevalent, and that people are, you know, creating space for themselves to be who they are now more?
I don't know. When you speak about people being more vulnerable, I think during this time, we're used to so many different vices normally when we're not in lockdown. So many different vices. We go here, we're flying, we're working, we're this. Lots of kind of ways to not to feel how we feel, really. And I think that maybe for some people, this time has really been, I have to sit with it. You know, I have to sit with my feelings, and then you kind of discover what's really going on inside. So often in our busyness, we don't actually know what's going on inside. So I think that's been easier for some people, like the introverts. A lot of introverts have enjoyed this, except the extroverts are there all the time.
You know, that is so great you saying that, because that is so true. Yeah. And do you think therefore there have been a lot more, you know, family dynamics going on that are just, you know, there must be more clashes, more emotion going on right now? This is, you know, what you see is what you get with everybody, because there's nowhere to hide. You're all living in the same house, right?
yeah, I mean, it must have been very challenging. It was just myself and my partner and his two children just coming now and again. But for some people who are used to going out, especially with young children who's going out all the time, it must have been such a challenge, such a challenge. I think Netflix would have been a great savior. Wow.
It was brilliant you saying that, and you do
rolling,
yoga as
rolling stuff out. Okay, there's a new thing, you know.
what is so funny is that I've been doing yoga like you during lockdown, and this particular practice that I do, at the end of the practice, everyone talks about their gratitudes. So they have to say their 3 gratitudes, and it's a very sweet conclusion to the, you know, the intent of the class and la la la. And at the beginning of lockdown, it's just so funny how those gratitudes have changed. At the beginning of lockdown, it's, you know, I'm grateful for this space. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful to be safe right now. And it's all very meaningful and heartfelt. And honestly, 3-4 months later, it's not, it's, I'm grateful for Netflix. I'm grateful for Deliveroo.
Yes, of course.
I'm grateful for my supply of wine, and or, you know, or just sweet things like I'm grateful for my cat, or I'm grateful for my class, you know, something like that. So you say you do yoga. Has that, would you say, because I would say personally, yoga has saved me. Is that something that's always been part of your physical well-being as well as mental well-being?
It hasn't actually. Well, I used to do it many moons ago, in the 90s. I used to do a lot of it then, and I kind of fell out of love with it. But a lot of this work I'm doing, that I've done on myself and that I'm studying around trauma, is how so much of our trauma memories are in our nervous system. They're trapped there in our nervous system, and so they're stored at the level of our biology rather than our biography. So talking helps to a degree, but for a lot of people, it needs to be body work. So I was trying to explore my resistance too during yoga so much. So I've started to do it again, and it is, you know, there are so many emotions trapped in the body. You know, there's certain poses where a lot of people, like the pigeon pose or something, people cry, or hip opener poses and stuff like that. And some sorts of yoga, especially your restorative yoga and your yin yoga, is very powerful for people who have got a lot of anxiety and trauma. And so I've just kind of been exploring that side, because I'm always doing weights and this and that, and but I've really rediscovered my love for yoga, more the slower yoga, the slow flow or a yin. But it's such a powerful thing, and to be honest with you, I've always been very nervous about going to yoga studios. Like, I don't really enjoy the whole process of going there, and you're waiting outside, and then, you know, you can see people around and they're all like more flexible than you, although I know that that's not what it's about. We're human and we kind of feel less than or whatever, and I just don't. And sometimes the teacher, anyway, I just never liked that vibe, and one-on-one is too intense. So since I started doing on the internet these classes, it's like amazing. I love it. I can do it when I want. I don't have to rush there. So
that is so interesting. I mean, genuinely, I'm fascinated by that, because a close friend of mine hates going to classes and studios because of the very same reason. She feels very exposed. She's a very private person. She will always feel more inadequate or whatever. And I can sort of relate to that, but I maybe it's because of the age I am. You know, I'm just beyond caring now, maybe, because I just, you know, it is what it is, and I've maybe just got over that. I mean, I remember going to ballet when I was little, and I was the least balletic person in the room. I felt like such a hippopotamus, but I just kind of got on with it. But I think now you're absolutely right, because there's space to discover it on your own without being judged, and that is a really interesting thing. But then I just loved what you said, and I want to write that down, and I think everyone listening to this should remember this, about the biology and the biography. Yeah. That is just so perfect to think about the physical and the emotional side of things, and that the nervous system is responsible for a lot of emotional release. And that's something that I have learned through yoga as well, because I'm obsessed with yoga. It has been my lifeline, and I found that the breath work has helped me enormously, and the physicality, the movement, the sweating, the actual, you know, and just to go to bed tired, feeling like you've achieved something. Yeah. on a physical level, I'm a bit like you, and I normally have to do something quite hardcore, weighty, you know, quite endurance hit stuff. And sometimes it's just like physically beating yourself up. Where is the yin? Where is that moment to just be still and just flow? And I think that is really, really important, because I think going back to the whole sort of, you know, purpose of the conversation, it's just how we look after ourselves. And I think, you know, sometimes, you know, and I know, speaking personally, I put a lot of pressure on myself to achieve, to push harder, to raise the bar even higher all the time, and it is exhausting.
Yeah.
And I kind of, I'm done with trying to, but mostly I'm trying to prove it to myself, not to anybody else, because they're my own personal goals.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, the yoga is really powerful, and I think it's not just the positions in yoga as well. I always found like I didn't fit in, you know, especially around kind of Kensington and Chelsea. I just kind of didn't really feel very comfortable. So I'm really happy that also the length of the class, sometimes you only got half an hour, or you want to do it for 90 minutes, or you want to do a quick 10-minute stretch. So I love that flexibility. So yeah.
Thank God for the internet. Yeah.
Yes. it's definitely, it's a huge part of my mental health plan.
But tell me, so what is your, I mean, you're still young, you've got a lot you want to achieve, you clearly want to achieve stuff, and you are so kind of colourful in how you, not just your Rixo dress, which is very colourful, and I crave it, I'm coveting your dress, but in as far as you know, you see things, you feel things, you want to discover and learn more all of the time. Where does in that kind of self-discovery and wanting to help others with trauma and everything like that, how do you feel that your day-to-day life around food and around food preparation, because that is a very therapeutic thing, how do you see food now? Because the reason that I ask, Lorraine, is because I used to cook as a living. I used to have a cookery school. I mean, nothing like on your level, seriously, like, you know, I should have trained with you. But I got by, just basic stuff, and I loved it. But for years I haven't cooked, because I'm just, you know, in London it's Deliveroo, because I'm busy. When I'm at home with the family, it's kind of like, oh my God, what can I cobble together? And because I want it to be, and I put myself under a lot of pressure for it to be, you know, like the best meal ever, and I don't enjoy the process anymore, because the pressure is on for it to be perfect. So the enjoyment has gone. So how do you still find that family time of literally preparing a meal from your imagination, because obviously you've got that, you don't need a cookery book, you know, you've got it all in your head and your heart. Do you find food preparation and that whole coming together as a family and sharing food, does that still bring you joy?
It's funny, because I agree with what you said. I don't feel the same way I used to anymore about cooking and things. I feel a lot of pressure. I kind of don't feel relaxed anymore doing it. It feels more like a job. And I think it's maybe because I did so much cooking, so many recipe books, one after the other, that it kind of, the passion left me, and it just became kind of like on a treadmill, and I didn't enjoy it as much. So now I just like throwing easy salads and things together, but you know, the whole cooking, long cooking and stuff, I don't really do so much anymore.
And it is okay to say that, because I think, you know, I guess because, you know, initially you were known for your cooking as a chef on television, as a TV personality, I guess you were, where you still are. But that puts a huge amount of pressure on you, and you know, you were entitled to, as an evolving human being, to sort of, you know, to discover something else, and be recognized for that. And I think that is glorious. You know, I mean, that in a similar way, I've moved on from a nutritional background to, you know, skincare, but the dots all join. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think when and it's not just if you're on TV or something, but people have these expectations of you, and you kind of think people are thinking about you more than they actually are. This is even if you're not on television. But so to make the change took me a long time to kind of just be, you know what, I just want to be who I want to be, not who other people think I should be. And there's a lot of, I had a lot of anxiety and a lot of thinking and a lot of doing it and then panicking and coming back. And, you know, now I've turned my social media totally into this emotional well-being. And I know a lot of people are like, well, what's she doing? You know?
But tell me, do you that, because that is really important, because that is a big decision. But do you have another? But do you have another account that it is Lorraine? No,
because I'm so much about being genuine, and I can't, like, I thought, well, I'll just do my degree and my master's, you know, my doctorate, and then whilst I'm doing that, I'll do cooking and I'll put that on, and I just can't do it. Like, I'm getting really annoyed, you know, when I try and film. It's like, just seems so stressful. So I just took the plunge, and it was more over lockdown, to just dedicate it all to that. So
honestly, this might sound patronizing, I don't mean it to be, but I'm bloody proud of you for doing that, because a lot of people try and live sort of lots of different egos, and for you to do something purely with that clear, defined intent, which is that this is what I want to do, and I want to do it well, and not dilute it by trying to, you know, those plate spinnings that people do. They try and it's just I know some people do try and do that, but just it's not necessarily the best thing for you to do. So I really, really think that is the best thing that you could possibly do. And I wish you well with all of that, because it's hardcore, it's intense, but my God, you will learn so much. And it's not just, obviously you want to help other people. This isn't just about, you know, you just trying to understand yourself or your family or your, you know, your own set of circumstances. This is just it is a fascinating subject, you know, because it is, you know, we're human beings. We are being a human, and that comes with a whole host of, you know, I'm fascinated by social pressure, by, you know, anthropological pressures, you know, cultural pressures, and modern living as just a way of existing. Yet we have got such built-in instinct, you know, the fight or flight, all of those things which go way back into our, you know, DNA from the moment we came out of caves, right? We have got these instincts and these intuitions, and we've almost forgotten how to tune into them. And, you know, because we're so busy being told how we should be on a social level, on a, you know, a material level. And it's just, this is the bit that you're so right about, it being a leveler, because we can all now just think, okay, this is the truth. This is the truth. You know, you know, whether you like it or not, this is who we are. Let's just understand it, acknowledge it, and then just get on and be the best human being we can possibly be.
Yeah.
So what's next for you, other than your, fingers crossed you have your wonderful holiday? What's next for you? What can we see you up to next, other than thank you for your amazing posts on your amazing social media?
Thank you. I am going to America, hopefully late September, if I'm allowed back in.
See your daughter.
Yes, to see my daughter, because it's her birthday in October, and also to do some filming. So that's the plan, fingers crossed.
Okay, well, I wish you all, I mean, I'm sure it'll be fine by then. You just have to. Yeah, I believe so. I think we're being, it's not reading the papers, it's all too depressing, but we have to trust the process, right? And trust that we're gonna get it okay. We're just, you know, let's just look after each other and think of our neighbors. But Lorraine, thank you so much for speaking to me. I'm really genuinely, on a personal level, would love to find out more about your course. And I'll just obviously keep on learning by watching how you communicate on your feed. So thank you for that. And I mean, really, I think we can all thank you for that, because it's such a selfless, wonderful thing that you're doing, which is, as you say, it's not about your ego, it's not about your career. This is something that you feel is important to share, and so thank you for that. And it's been a beautiful experience talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Pleasure. And we'll speak soon. All the best. Have a great summer.
Thanks, you too.
Bye, Lorraine. Bye.